anyone who doesn't end up watching this whole video, I want to say that yes, I know I'm a total Apple sheep, blah blah blah. But a lot of my channel, especially my Insights playlist and my music, which is pretty much actually my entire channel, kind of, is based on the self-empowerment and growth of the viewers and my subscribers, no matter who they are. If I'm encouraging the people to take more responsibility on their own part, or anything of the like, that many others wouldn't agree with or find necessary on the parts of the people rather than Apple, it's because of my intentions, values, and a lot of other things. And I just want to get that out of the way, that I'm aware those things can be quite subjective. I also want to say that I try to acknowledge more than just the dick rider side of these arguments, because it's pretty much like politics, in my opinion, as much as I hate to make that analogy, where you can find just about any argument and relentlessly poke holes in it. Again, for reasons that involve what you value. And if that weren't true, I don't know, I feel like there wouldn't be anything to debate. At all. Like, nobody would fucking be talking about this. Which anyone who fucking hates Apple, I at least hope, would be like, that makes sense. But still, you could kind of probably argue with anything, regardless. But like I said before, I really just want to look at this side of the whole shit from my own point of view, and that's just because it's not one I feel like enough people have, although I use info from other sources to kind of back it up. I looked at other videos about this to make sure I'm not bringing something to the table that's already there. The point here is intention and transparency, but let's get to it. There are a couple big fucking issues, or a lot, but those are smaller ones, in my opinion, and they kind of fall under a couple bigger categories, at least that I know of. Those are one, I like to call harvesting. Anyone who hates Apple will probably attest to the reason I call it this. And also, another one is outsourcing. These are the biggest objections I hear regarding Apple as a full company, especially nowadays. But as I say all the time in my videos, I think I heard this first from Tony Robbins, success leaves clues. And there's a reason Apple is worth roughly $1 trillion that I think everyone, yes everyone, can learn something about and benefit from, even in their own values. So let's start with harvesting by talking about that. I call it harvesting because, you know, this is basically the beginning of 2019, and since a few months ago, Apple released a slew of new products, or versions of products like the iPhone XS, XS Max, or XR. It's time for Apple to go like, okay, we got new products. It's time for all the old ones to go to shit, so we can sell more of the new ones. And since they have something new called Apple Give Back, they recycle your old phone and turn the price down for any new one you purchase by up to $500. When rappers like Drake, for example, drop a new project, other fans are saying it's Drizzy season. Well, at the time it was, and right now kind of still is, Apple season. When my Numbers EP drops in March, it'll be Samuel season. But that's beside the point. Here's a little background on the harvesting aspect of Apple. Marquez Brownlee. I don't know how to pronounce his name, okay? He said to Joe Rogan that the problem more than anything, which I agree with, is that they just fucking didn't really tell anybody. Like, they kind of just hid it. Here's what he said word by word, because I try not to leave like sound bites or anything like that and be extremely biased, which is not easy to pull off for me when I make videos like this one. He said,
"This is what we do when your phone gets older. We need to preserve the CPU or the battery, so we need to either voltage down the CPU or preserve the battery. Make your choice."
And they didn't tell us until people started suspecting things. And they had to make a statement, and that kind of looked a little dirty and hidden. Also, as of October 2018, he said they do give you the choice to either volt down the CPU or save your battery, which is definitely a good thing. If everybody knew that, this probably wouldn't even fucking be an issue. But again, this probably reinforces what I just said. If you never look for it, you'll never find it. And they definitely default to saving your battery by underclocking the chip. So as soon as the new phones come out, your phone will slow down unless you find that feature. Originally, I didn't even know about this, but that's probably because I'm an Apple sheep. I noticed a lot of reviews are positive all around. Google, from Verizon to AT&T. I'll link any sources for this shit, by the way, that I got in the description. But I noticed Apple gets a lot of fucking hate on YouTube. And all of this is a big deal. But here's the thing. Maybe I'm not like most people, but I don't have a problem fucking up a check on a new phone once every year or two. And I don't make
that much money
at the moment. But even right now, I'm prepared to do it in case I don't simply have to replace the battery like I did 4 months ago to my MacBook Pro that I've had since 2016. It's been about 2.5 years now, and it works just as well as it did when I got it. Straight up. Now, what's phenomenal about this, particularly, is that I use this MacBook, my iPhone 7 Plus, and my iPad Mini 4 fucking relentlessly. I use them for fucking hours and hours and hours every fucking day. I spend probably as much time, if not more, with, around, and using these products than I do fucking unconscious. I've had my iPad for 3 years, and it's in fantastic condition. I haven't even had to replace the battery. And I think the reason for these things, if you want to count harvest season, I don't know everything about these products, although I find the designs and the like to be fascinating. I think it just might be because I don't treat them like shit. Like, probably more than anything else. A lot of people are fucking dropping their phones and treating them like shit. Not even, like, paying attention. They fucking, like, are they really, do they really like Apple that much? I don't know. And cracking the screens, but I don't know, man. When I got the 7 Plus, it was $920, including tax. And now it's like half the price or less. Apple clearly doesn't take prisoners, as they say, when it comes to prices. But if I drop $920 on a phone, and that's a lot for me at least, I'm gonna be very careful with that phone, especially if and when I use it for fucking 4 to 5 hours a day. If Apple has enough problems that are bad enough, they will die. There are no reasons a company like that would really thrive this much if these problems were really as bad as people make them out to be. You could argue things like, what about stockholders or something? I mean, dude, if it were that big of a problem, again, stockholders would know, and even if they don't give a shit about the people who consume the products, they would still be like, fuck this shit. Same with customers, clearly. Simple as that. Apple probably has better branding than any company, period. But if the problem were that big, like I said, anything, like even their branding, I would argue, would not be able to keep up with it. If Amazon is treating its workers like dog shit, and they have to rely on food stamps and public assistance, and they have to pee in bottles and sleep in their cars just to survive, and that isn't like a 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 600,000 something employees who work there, that news outlets wanted to just amplify for the sake of getting more of your attention and time, and that were really that big of a problem, Amazon would not last as long as it has. And if it were the brand and their reputation in the market, negativity is more forceful despite less powerful than positivity. Is it not? Like if it were the brand in such a case, Amazon would still go to shit and the stockholders would take flaming hot shits on the porches of the Bezos family. Because the customer is what Apple and Amazon are fucking obsessed with. To the point of like fucking death. That's why they're so fucking valuable. Does any of this make sense? Like any of it? If it does it really just like fly over everybody else's head? Am I just being ignorant? Like I'm not trying to imply that I'm more woke or something than anyone else. Like bro, I'm a 21-year-old kid from the suburbs of Pennsylvania. I am no smarter than the rest of my kind. The amount of things I have yet to learn is fucking gross. It is disgusting as fuck. I guess this is just my perspective. So the reason I talk about the way I treat these products, which is with lots of care, I mean I put a lot of money and time into them. I kind of need to. With that, I think other people could benefit from doing so themselves. Because I'm pretty sure the iPhone is the most popular product on the fucking planet. Like over what, 1 billion have been sold? But with the time I spend on it, the value of that time, the return on investment, the way I use it as a means of contribution to my own self-growth, as a customer of their products especially, it's the same thing to me as social media, which is free. These products and platforms and everything, your perception of them is based on the results of how you use them. You know what I mean? Like I think it's not as much about the product. Like yes, you can always blame the product and the CEO and the fucking president and global warming and the warlords in Africa and your boss for not giving you a raise to buy the iPhone 17 hashtag decimal point. But to me, it's about who uses them and how they're being used more than anything, no matter what the product. Like the product to a degree will always play a role. Totally, 100%. It is a variable that you cannot at least easily control. But aren't the ways in which you can control it worth paying the most attention to? If not a lot of attention to? Like more than anything else? Responsibility is fucking... Is it not? Don't you feel empowered when you take responsibility for things? I'm willing to bet that if you don't, you probably do, but just like deep down. If you aren't one to hold onto your phone tightly, why don't you get an OtterBox or something? I was talking with someone the other day about this, and he said it's because he wants to actually feel the product. And I'm like, dude, what matters more? The product or your use of it? And like I say in my video, it's a crazy video about Jeff Bezos called Leave Jeff Bezos Alone. It's the same thing as this, except with Jeff Bezos and Amazon. I say it like, dude, that's ultimately up to you. Is it not? Are you gonna tell people this shit needs work and fucking whine about it? Or are you gonna focus on your own direct circle of control and adapt to the situation at hand? Or both. That's also an option. But what would your ancestors do? Isn't the result of their actions what got you here in the first place? To me, these are just some things to consider. To me, capitalism and shit like that is deeper than just business. It's biology and history and art and everything between and beyond the lines. And I find those more fascinating than business. But that's something else about this. Steve Jobs said that Apple at its core, which is funny because, you know, like the core of an apple, they believe that people with a passion can change the world for the better. Jobs has a biography by Walter Isaacson, which was fucking amazing. And it was stressed in the bio that, to put it as simply as possible, Apple is the premier intersection between technology and culture. Damn. I'm convinced that my life purpose is to recalibrate the direction of culture and where it's going toward the future. How will I make it happen? I will figure it out in due time, since it kind of, if not probably, has not been done before in such a way that I would like to make it happen. But anyone doing that would probably benefit more from using Apple products than any other ones. And if you're not that type of person, like I'm trying to stress, it's about the customer. That's what everything ideally should be about. In the eyes of the company, yes, but more importantly, the eyes of the customer themselves and what they want. If you don't like Apple phones, then fucking switch to a different company. Because chances are, there's so many other phones from so many other companies that will work so much better for you specifically. You! Like, what's stopping you from focusing on those? If you care about what you want in your life enough, like, what is it? Spend more time with your family, make more money, find peace and happiness? What kind of impact do you want to leave? Like, what the fuck does telling people not to buy iPhones? How does that tie into such a thing? Anytime you spend ranting about something you don't like is any time you could spend working on obtaining something that you love. And what a fucking payoff that is. Because, dude, let me bounce on the hypocrisy behind this for a sec. I'm not trying to say people should buy an iPhone, like it's the best thing for them. I'm saying it's the best for me. But, in turn, I'm saying also that whatever you want in your life, and whatever you're doing, I'm under the impression at least, that you would benefit most on that mission with a product in your hands that contributes the most to you and said mission. Fucking simple as that. The other big problem, one that doesn't seem to be as big of a problem, but a lot of people clearly don't like Apple because of it, is outsourcing. Like, apparently they buy patents so they can use someone else's technology. Then they source all the production to China and sell their own shit for a higher markup. And all their shit is made by different companies that are not them, but the whole product has their name on it. Then they try to tell people, yo, this shit is so much better than PCs. And I mean, dude, if this is true, then fucking it's true. But anyone who has acknowledged it in reality can also acknowledge that here. Someone on Quora said this, and I think it makes sense.
Invention is important, but in many ways, inventing the technology is the easy part. Developing that technology into something that people can just take out of the box and use for the next 2 years takes an awful lot of unsung work. And it's that work that Apple is so good at.
Someone else said, like, yes, Apple did not invent all of these features from scratch, since very few companies really ever do, but they popularized them by reworking, polishing, and refining them, then bringing them to the masses. Elon Musk was asked in an interview who he admires more, Nikola Tesla or Thomas Edison. He said Edison. The company that he co-founded is called Tesla because they use an AC induction motor, which is an architecture that Tesla himself invented. But on balance, he said Edison because Edison brought his stuff to the market and made those inventions accessible to the world. Tesla didn't really do that. This was in 2008. But if he feels the same way about a decade later or more, I would not be surprised. If you pay attention to how many software updates Apple has, they're constantly looking at flaws, constantly considering all the shit people tell them, constantly fixing bugs on bugs on bugs. It's because no matter what you make, no product is really perfect. And if you're expecting a product to be perfect fully because it looks perfect and it was sold to you, not as a product as much as an idea, which is very important, I want to stress that, then I have no blue fuck of an idea what to tell you other than keep buying the product, I guess, until you come to a conclusion for yourself that might not be the case. The same source on Quora said that the iPod is a wheel, hard drive controller, battery display, and a couple of buttons. So anyone smashing it with a hammer might proclaim that it contained no Apple inventions. Despite this, the iPod was sufficiently innovative to disrupt the entire global music industry and destroy Sony's dominance with their Walkman brand. There is a significant difference between invention and innovation. Invention is quite easy and not particularly valuable, which again, I don't entirely agree with. Innovation is quite hard, and it is only demonstrated by value, because ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. Great salesmen, in the words of Napoleon Hill, know this fact, and ordinary salesmen do not, and that is why they are ordinary. But in a year like 2019, or even prior, isn't our marketplace more of an idea factory than a merchandise factory? Was it a merchandise factory almost exclusively until the importance of selling products as ideas rose in due time to the point where people are like, dude, you're fucking finessing people here.
Because you're outsourcing everything and saying it's better than everyone else's product.
What will the future look like if this continues? Because even Jeff Bezos feels that all giant companies and governments and anything of the like ideally should always be thoroughly inspected by the general public every once in a while, specifically for the sake of the overall health of the ecosystem in which they all live. Like, when you think of an ideal marketplace, what better alternative for both sides in the long run is that? Because pretty inevitably it's gonna become the case as time flies. The quality of this video, everything from the fact that it can be viewed in 4K because it was shot with a Lumix G7 camera, to the fact that I wrote it out by word as thoroughly as I could with the intent of empowering the viewer, whether they agree with my points or not in this instance, I would say is more innovative than inventive on one level when you look at all the other Apple defense rants from people with infinitely larger subscriber counts and view counts for now But on another level, if you easily found this through search, that might say something about my ability to distribute it and rank it through YouTube's ranking system. I'm not trying to brag here, like, I feel like that's a really fucking weird thing to brag about. But on another level, a lot of the fucking shit that I say came from different sources that just happen to be saying things in favor of my viewpoints. May this video be a source of filtered curations for quality purposes to other sources. Kind of like how Apple is the global market's highest valued chef who doesn't invent their own ingredients. If by chance, in any ways, this video is more innovative than inventive, I don't know about you, but I would argue it's more innovative in such a case. However, on another level, if you agree with the argument that Apple is finessing people by outsourcing the components of and advertising the finished products as if they're better than those of the people who manufacture the components, may I remind you that no number, no statistic that pertains to Apple can be compared to 1 trillion. If there is any, please leave them in the comments below, because I want to know about that shit. But if Apple can reach a $1 trillion evaluation, they are doing something right in the eyes of the market that all these other companies that are making the components that are so important are not. And if they're cheating a game that's constantly rigged and it's working, they're not cheating. They're just fucking playing it and winning it. Because if it stays rigged, what's the point in calling it rigged? It may as well just be the new game. The market is brutal. It's not Democratic or Republican like all these fucking people think it should be. If you pay really close attention, you might notice that there are not votes. There is just money coming in and going out. And everything that's supposedly rigged about the ways the dominators are playing it is only rigged to the public that doesn't fucking understand or ethically resonate with enough to support or even like kind of just accept and work with and adapt to. And if you're so caught up in what they're doing, may I also remind you that doing so is a fucking choice. And if you don't think so, I'm pretty sure that's a choice too. So if you're on their dick, I would, I would recommend just hopping off and getting on your own. Because what's really more important to you? Like really. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up. There are links at the bottom of the description to all my social media. If you guys have anything that you want me to talk about in future videos, please let me know about them in the comments and I will give you a shout out if and when I use them. If you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up. There are links at the bottom of the description to all my social media. Also at the bottom of the description, there are links to my new production kits where you can find all the hardware and software that I use to make music and these videos. If you buy any, I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos for you guys. I made all the beats in this video. If you want to use them, you can find links to each one in the description from first to last or at samuel.earth/beats. Make sure to leave a like if you like it, subscribe if you haven't already. If you could turn on that little bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me everywhere and I will see you then.